And then Kris got to talk to Mickey Mouse like Mickey Mouse.
Oh boy, gee, thanks for coming by my park today. It was great.
And when the manager was there, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, it's actually one of the best that we've heard."
And now,
Aye, I'm the captain now.
coming to you from the K2 Studios in San Diego, California.
That sounds great. You sound amazing.
I always sound amazing.
It's the world famous
Everybody's hitting off like BFFs.
Kris and Kristine Show.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? How are you doing today? Thank you so much for listening, and I am Kris.
And I'm Kristine, and welcome to episode 137 of the Kris and Kristine Show.
Oh boy, and fantastic.
That was like a half Mickey. You were like, oh, you stopped yourself. You're like, oh boy.
I know, you're just so tired and sick and tired of Mickey Mouse by now, I think.
I know. Mickey can, stick it.
Well, today on this episode of the Kris and Kristine Show, we are going to go over our entire vacation recap from the last couple weeks. But before we get into...
That sounds so exhilarating. We're going to go through a vacation recap. We are going to let you in on all of the fantastic adventures we've been having over the last couple of weeks. That is enticing to people.
Hashtag what she just said, really.
Yeah. Hashtag what she said.
But before we get into all that fun, fantastic adventure, know that Kristine actually was not feeling that well. So how are you today? What happened, babe?
Well, I got COVID from Disney World.
No.
Actually, I got COVID.
It wasn't my fault, I swear.
I got COVID from the kids who got it at Disney World. And so I've been on the recovery train for the last week. And so you may still hear a little crackle or hear me take some deep breaths. It's because I'm on the tail end of it, but doing much better. Thank you to everybody.
Oh, well, I'm so glad to see you up and alive and not being so bedridden. And I was kind of worried about you, babe. You were in bed and you weren't feeling well. And
You did like two things for me the whole time I was sick.
And those two things were very important, by the way.
Yes, you got me NyQuil. And you microwaved one bowl of soup for me over the course of the 6 days that I was sick.
Chef Boyardee, there you go.
Otherwise, I had to fend for myself for every other meal. I was such a good nurse to you. And
you are very good.
And you were like loud when you came in the middle of the night. And I was like, huh? Like I was supposed to get the quarantine bedroom and like have it to myself while you sleep on the couch and everything. And you were just like, I'm not sleeping there. I'm staying in the bed. And if I get sick, so be it.
Hey, speaking of that, how is it possible that you got COVID, the kids, both of them contracted COVID, and yet I was with everybody and sleeping with you nonstop, and I didn't get anything?
Well, neither did Zeke. You guys were the last two to have COVID in like January. So I'm wondering if you still have some immunity in your system that kind of kept you from getting sick. And the littles have never had it. So, we went almost 3 years before they got it, but they got it.
Oh, man. Well, what are you going to do? So you're feeling better now. So here we are.
Yeah, I'm on the mend and going to be getting back to work on Monday. I was unexpected to have another week off of work, but I pretty much slept. I was like a little sloth the last week. It was like I would wake up, well, at least at the beginning of the week, once I got a diagnosis, I would like wake up and then I would just sleep. Like the first couple of days, I just slept for hours and hours and hours.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I could not get enough sleep. It was like hydration and sleep. But when I turned a corner is when I finally got the monoclonal antibody injection.
Ooh, I heard about that.
Yeah, and it really definitely helped me. I know that they say that on the newer strains, it's not as effective, but I can tell you for me personally, it took like one full day, and then that stuff really started to kick in, and my body started to fight against the virus differently, and I really turned a corner after that, and I'm so thankful for that I was able to get that.
Now, there wasn't any side effects from it, say, like maybe, I know Comic-Con's in week this going on right now, but like, did you have like x-ray vision, or maybe like, can you move things with your mind, or, cool things like that?
Well, no, I think the extent of my special powers was to delay podcasting for a day. And that was like, that's like beyond x-ray vision. That was like, man, it was like moving the Empire State Building that I got an extra day off because you were like, dude, we've already gone 2 weeks without podcasting. You are such a like crack the whip kind of person.
I try to be very gentle and I'm supposed to be a very meager and mild boss when it comes to the podcasting.
Boss. Bossy.
I'm the manager of the podcast
Very
world.
first thing this morning, actually yesterday. Hey, babe, I mean, I don't want to push you or anything, but are we going to podcast this weekend? And then like all day today, when are we going to podcast? Are we going to podcast? Are we going to podcast? And I told you, yes, we would do it today.
Well,
so I'm keeping my promise to you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for joining us and listening to our fantastic episode all about the Disney Florida vacation.
Yeah, well, we've been back for a week now, a week and a day. But in that week and a day, since we've been back, what have you been doing since you've been back to the regular day-to-day?
Well, first off, jet lag kicks my butt, by the way. It kicked my butt on the way over there, and it kicked my butt on the way back.
Okay, but jet lag for you is different than just being sleepy. It's like it really affects your mood. I think you have a disorder. I think you are
it's
like...
it's called jet lag.
I think it's called being a lagger. Like you're lagging.
Yeah, my body lags. It's like...
and your attitude.
It's like when you think like, hey, when you're dreaming, like I dreamt I went to work, but yet you're still in bed. And you're like, I thought I already did that today. But you dreamt you did it. It's like me with my body when I travel. Like my mind's already over there, but my body's like playing catch up. It's like,
so your mind is like, I thought I was being positive, and your body was like, I was just a complete blank to everybody.
Exactly. So what I have been doing is struggling to go back to work and get readjusted to the work schedule and just everything, because you've been on vacation. Coming back from vacation is always hard for anybody, really, especially me. I love vacation, but I hate traveling that much. What?
What do you think that is, that it's hard for you to get back to work when you hate traveling?
I think because I get used to, when you're on vacation, for one, you don't have to really worry about schedules as much. I mean, you kind of do with a vacation. Well, our vacation we did, yeah. But a normal vacation, if you're just staying home doing nothing, which is almost like being unemployed, I guess. That's a different story, but you almost feel like you don't have to worry so much about having to go to work or having to leave at a certain time, or, when you go to work, you got to focus on work and your work stuff and not worry about other things. And, less about you, more about work. When you're on vacation, it all goes out the window. It's all free for all. It's like today, sleeping in until noon, Well,
yes. I mean, we didn't sleep in until noon, but it was nice this weekend. We are kid-free, and we did definitely take advantage of it with sleeping in. Although last night I did not get to sleep very much because Snore Baby across from me was like,
who could possibly be that?
Oh my gosh, it sounded like you were like, I don't know, sawing down an entire forest.
I was dreaming about a motorcycle.
Must have been like a gang of motorcycles because that was loud. But you got back to work this week, and how was that going for you?
It's a struggle, getting used to everything, and it's okay. Work wasn't too bad. I did have to go do my physical test at the doctor's office, which took forever for some reason. Don't make an appointment. What's the point of having an appointment? They don't even serve appointments in order. They just skip you.
Were they like 20 minutes late or something? Because for you, 20 minutes is like a lifetime.
Let's just say I had a 2:00 appointment, and I didn't leave the doctor's to actually leave the place till 6:30.
No.
I mean, it was 6 o'clock.
No,
Yeah.
You're kidding.
No, seriously.
How long were you actually in with the doctor? Like 2 hours?
No, by the time I got to the doctor, he was like, they're always apologizing for being so late. And then he basically just went through it, check. You look great to me. Check, get out of here.
Oh my gosh.
It was so like pencil whipped it,
Oh my gosh, I have to tell you this story. It's on that same topic. One time I had to go to a specialist when I lived back in Fresno, an endocrinologist there for my thyroid. And I was sitting in the room for like ever. It was taking forever for this doctor to come and see me. And then I hear everybody outside like saying goodbye to each other at the end of the evening.
Like who's saying goodbye? Like the doctors or something?
The doctor, the medical assistants, everything like that. And I opened the door and I was like, hey, I'm still here waiting to be seen. I've been sitting here for 2.5 hours. They had forgotten to put the sign out that I was waiting to see the doctor, and he was about ready to leave. And he finally had to like double back in, and they were like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And it was like 30 minutes after they closed, and I was still sitting there. It was like the worst.
What happened if they lock you in? Like close the doors, lock you in?
I don't know. I don't know how I would get out.
Was there a movie about that?
I don't know, but that made me think of your story because that was a long time that you had to wait.
Oh, I know.
But did you at least get paid for all of that?
Yes, I did. That actually softened the blow a little bit, And but I was in there using my phone, and I was watching they had TV going there. What channel was it? It was whatever channel it was playing all like the Fast and Furious movies.
Oh yeah.
It was like one of them, and then the one right after. So I was watching a little bit of that, playing on my phone, watching that, going back and forth. And then they finally take me in to draw my vitals and stuff. And they said, okay, we'll go back out in the waiting room and wait for the doctor, and we'll come back. And, a lot of back and forth with that stuff. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, in the back room, waiting in the little rooms they've got. And I'm waiting in there. No TV, just my phone. And I'm watching my phone and stuff, and the doctor finally comes in and does his thing. But by that time that happened, it was super late. My boss texted me. He's like, hey, are you all done? I said, I'm still waiting for the doctor. What? What do you mean? I said, well, I don't know, so.
Well, that's crazy. Do they have to do a drug test on you when you go in for those things?
That one they did not, which was funny, though, is that I had to use the restroom, go number 1, real bad. So I get there, and then the first thing she does is calls me back. And I say, hey, do we need to take a urine sample at all for anything? Let me look. Oh, yeah, not for a drug test, but for some kind of like, what is it, cholesterol or not cholesterol?
Yeah, they check for diabetes.
Yes, that kind of stuff. I said, can we do that first? Because I got to go to the bathroom right now. So we did that first thing we did was that, so.
That's funny. I remember doing that for my physical when I got my job, and I had never actually had a drug test done before. And it was a friend of mine from high school that was actually the tech, and he's like, don't flush the toilet after you go to the bathroom.
Oh, right,
and I was like, what? That's so weird. I don't want you to see my...
You know what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you go number 2, or what are you doing?
No, but still.
When you said drug test, you never did a drug test before. First thing I thought of is you get like your pencil out, click. Let's. Where's the exam at? I gotta fill this out.
Well, I'm glad that you got that handled. Do you have anything left from that you have to handle this upcoming week?
Yeah, in fact, I have to take all the results from the doctor and take it to the DMV and drop it off.
Why is that?
Tomorrow. Well, they got to renew my license. They got to put the information on my driver's license that I've been. Not only am I renewed the license, I renewed my medical. So basically saying I'm cleared from the doctor to drive the truck.
Is that to make sure that you don't have like a heart attack while you're driving a big rig and stuff like that? Because I thought they only did like vision and hearing stuff.
Well, they do that too, basic stuff like that.
But I didn't know, like on your license, does it say like you're healthy, check?
No, I don't think it says that, but I do know that if you have any conditions, medical conditions at all, when you do your medical DOT physical, is that you may have to do it every year.
What's DOT mean? Dead on transit?
Department of Transportation.
Oh.
Got me all confused
You
here.
were like, when you get it in DOT, and I'm like, what's a DOT physical? Like, making sure that you're not dead on arrival.
So anybody who drives a commercial vehicle, has a commercial license of any kind, has to do a physical. I'm sure the same thing for airlines. If you're an airline pilot, I'm sure you got to do the commercial airlines have to have physicals for that. Because you want the pilot fainting at the wheel or anything like that.
Yeah. I was always wondering, like, could the big they, Uncle Sam or whatever, put like medical monitors on pilots and drivers to make sure that you're not like having a heart attack in the middle of driving so they could get you help? Like, wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, but at that point, what would they do? Like, say you have a heart attack at the wheel. They know you have a heart attack in the wheel. Now you're crashing the vehicle. But then they know
it's your fault versus somebody else's.
Well, look, they investigate. They got investigators. Everybody's got, like, you see insurance companies? My goodness, they got tons of investigators all lined up.
Or if they, like, saw your heart rate getting to, like, a certain pattern that they could, like, pump on the brakes for you and have you, like, automatically pull over to the side. It's like, no more ability to operate, danger to operate. That would be really smart.
Well, they're trying to push those driverless trucks, just like the driverless cars they were trying to push.
Well, that's dumb.
They were trying to push those. I don't know where it went with that, but it seems like those always seem to have accidents.
But I think it would be like super smart if you had a health condition that you have like some control system where you have to be monitored, and if your health is like not good, or if they're noticing irregular heartbeats or something like that, that it's like, you need to take a break, pull over to the side.
Well, that's why those who have just borderline problems have to either be on medication approved by the doctor, and they have to get physicals done every year.
Interesting.
I'm on the 2-year plan, which is like the basic one.
So you're like the almost bad category.
No, the bad category would be the 1 year we have to watch you, and you're like borderline, you can't drive.
Does anybody get like a 4-year?
No, 2 years the one they do.
Oh, see, I thought it was like somebody's on a 4-year and you're on like the 2-year. You're on probation.
No, not yet.
Probationary health.
Not yet.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
All right. You passed with your vision and everything?
Barely, yeah.
How about your hearing? Because I would like to say that you have selective hearing.
I do, but I heard it just fine.
Oh, it was a woman testing you? I was surprised that they didn't give you a man to test you, because then you'd like hear everything. If it's a woman, you'd be like, huh, what was that, sweetheart? What? Sugar pie?
Sugar pie. I didn't drop any sugar pies or plums or sweeties or sugar plum or
You didn't
whatever.
ask anybody to go get you coffee?
I did, actually. But they didn't have a Starbucks nearby. So.
Oh, well, I'm glad that you got that all handled. I know that was a big stressor for you. And so work's been going good for you?
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, we'll see how it goes. Every day it's a new day at work, something totally different. You don't know what you're doing, which can stress you out.
Yeah.
I like to be consistent with my stuff. Pretty much same thing. I'm kind of boring that way. Same thing every day.
You do like predictability. Well, for my work, we are starting the new year. So for us, we start July 1 is the new contract year. So I'm on my new contract, and our new work schedule has started, which means that I will have to start reporting to work every Monday, and then I'll work remotely the remaining 4 days of the week. So I won't go in tomorrow, but I will the following Monday. But this week, I actually have my first work trip since COVID started.
No way. Speaking of trips, man, you got to get fly or driving? I'm
going to be driving, and I am going to be working overnight in Palm Springs in the middle of summer.
Oh, it's hot there.
It's so hot. It's like 117.
But it's not it's different hot than it was when we were in Florida.
Yeah, it's like a dry heat, but I haven't been to Palm Springs since I was like 8 years old, and I didn't know that we are only like 2 hours and 15 minutes away from there. Did you know that?
Yeah, I know. We used to go all the time. Remember, if you go out there, you'll see all kinds of windmills. Like thousands.
The solar?
No,
or like wind turbines?
Yes, you'll see like thousands of thousands. Big valleys. Well, actually, start putting a bunch out here too. But out by Palm Springs, that's one iconic thing you think about when you go to Palm Springs. I think it's the 10 freeway. There's like thousands of these windmills.
So it was going to direct me to go up the 15 and out like Riverside area. I don't know. It's just kind of an interesting drive. But yeah, I'm driving there on Wednesday. I'm going to be working there. I'm going to be presenting. One of our districts is having a retreat out there, a leadership retreat, and they've asked for myself and a couple of my colleagues to go and present. And so they are covering our accommodations. And so going out there the night before, going to meet with their team, have dinner with them, relax, get up in the next morning, and then work for that day, that morning and afternoon, and then I'll drive home. So
Ooh,
a little
exciting.
getaway.
Yeah, a little getaway. That's great.
Yeah, in the heat. Now I wonder, when you go out to Palm Springs and you're at these resorts and they have pools, it's so hot outside. Are the pools like bath water, or can they keep them cold?
What do you mean by cold?
Like cool, like when you go swimming in a pool, I don't know, when I get into a warm pool, when it almost feels like it's been heated because it's been so hot outside, it doesn't feel refreshing.
Well,
it's like getting into a bath.
Those probably actually were heated. To actually heat a pool.
But if it's like 115 outside, don't you think that it would bring up the temperature of the pool to be like 80? That would be gross. It's like bathing in warm milk.
I don't think so. You
don't think so? Well,
No.
Maybe I'll test it out. I don't know. I'm always nervous to like go into the pool when I'm on a work thing, because I don't want like people that I work with or that I'm leading see me in a bathing suit. It just seems awkward, like not professional. But gosh, I'm going all the way out to this resort destination.
That's all I imagine work trips are like. I thought all you guys do is go out on these pools and hang out by the pool all day.
Oh, no.
That's at least it was in
Nobody
the movies.
gets in their bathing suits with each other. I mean, maybe like corporate people.
You know what's funny? You pack your work bag to go on a work trip, and you pack your bathing suit with you. It's kind of weird, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like, would I sneak down and like slide into the pool and be like, nothing happening here. Don't look at me. Speaking of which, I didn't even get into the pool, did I, on our vacation?
No, we did not. And we were going to talk all about our vacation, our fantastic trip of the vacation week here at the old Kris and Kristine household when we get back right after this.
If you love music and podcasting, now you can have both. Introducing the brand new K2 radio station, available 24/7 on the Live 365 app for free.
Specializing in rock and alternative music. We're talking bands like Coldplay, Nirvana, Muse, Imagine Dragons, and yes, even the Rolling Stones. They have all stopped by to drop off songs, and we even have brand new popular tracks added every single day.
Also on the free K2 radio station, we are including podcasting. Get the best of both worlds. Download the free Live 365 app or listen online at live365.com and type in K2 Radio. Are you in the middle of wedding planning and feeling overwhelmed? There's no need to fret, my friend. Kristine Smith Designs is here to rescue you. Offering wedding planning, coordination, and wedding floral design services, let us help relieve your stress and make your wedding day dreams a reality. Visit us at KristineSmithDesigns.com. That's KRISTINE Smithdesigns.com and request a free consultation. You'll be so glad you did. And welcome back, everybody. I am so excited to kick off this next segment because we are going to do something that our kids love and we love to do every year, and that is sharing with you our fabulous family vacation from this summer. Now, this is our third annual vacation, but it is our first time flying to go on a vacation.
With all of us.
With all of us.
And I think this was the very first time that the little kids, Jacob and Mason, actually flew this far away. That's the first time they've actually been in a place where they're on a different time zone.
Yeah.
Other than, well, they went on a cruise.
No, but flown to a place where it's a different time zone.
Right. Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. So, Kris, what are you going to call this segment? You said you were calling it what?
Fantastic Vacation?
8 days of fun.
8 days of fun.
8 days of fun.
Like 8 crazy days.
Yeah, 8 crazy days of summer for sure. Because let's just say we've talked about this, you and I, since we came back. And while it was a quote unquote vacation, for parents traveling with children and going like planes, trains, automobiles, literally all three, it's more of a trip.
Don't forget the boats too.
Yeah, planes, boats, trains, automobiles. It's more of a trip.
And walking. I think we used every mode of transportation there is. And
basically.
We have, yeah.
Yeah, totally. And we're going to talk more about it as we're getting into our rundown on our vacation. But buckle up, Buttercup, because we are going to go through all of the highs, the lows, and all of the in-betweens of our fantastic Florida family vacation.
So the gist of it all was the plan was we were going to fly from San Diego on a Saturday all the way out to Florida, which is on the other side of the country. And then we're going to do Miami stuff, Disney World stuff, then fly back. But Kristine told me that the flight left Saturday morning early, right?
Yeah.
So we had to leave here to go to the airport early on Saturday morning, which sounds okay. Unfortunately, I had to work Friday night.
No, you didn't.
I didn't.
You worked Thursday night.
Okay, let me go back now. On Friday night, I usually work on Friday night. So Kristine asked me about a couple weeks in advance, can you please see if you can take off Friday?
It was 2 months in advance, for the record.
Was it?
Yes, I said 2 months in advance because I know how you travel. For the record, everybody, Kris is a horrible traveler.
Get out of here.
The crankiest old man you will ever meet on the face of the planet. Every time we get ready to go on a trip, he blows up or has a meltdown right before we go. Every single trip that we've gone on, he's tried to cancel it within the couple of hours before.
That was only one time.
No, honey, it's been 3 times.
One time?
Three times.
Happens,
okay, what one time do you remember?
I don't know.
I remember Vegas. I remember Zion. I remember Yosemite. I remember, that one wedding that we had to go to. It's every time.
The wedding we had to go to, huh?
Yeah, the one where you couldn't log into your computer.
Oh, yeah. That was my fault. I kept typing the wrong password in.
Yes.
What a
dingbat.
Yeah,
but so knowing that getting you to wake up and get out the door and be at the airport by 8:30 a.m. having to work the night before was not a possibility. I said to you, Kris, I need you to get the night before we leave off so that you weren't stressing us out.
Thankfully, I did. I got the day off. So Thursday was my last day at work. So I was off all day Friday, which we used that day to pretty much just get everything ready and get prepared for the trip, which is packing.
We used the day to get you ready.
Yes.
I had already packed the kids days in advance. Their carry-ons were downstairs ready to go. You know what? Our kids are really good about listening to me when it's time to prep for vacation. The one person that doesn't listen and waits till the last minute.
Oh, who could that be?
Is the biggest kid out of all of them.
Who?
Lord Christopher himself.
Wow. Yeah, I like when I pack for vacation, I usually just pack the day of. That way, it's a theory of mine. It's like, hey, I'm going to wear these clothes tonight. I'm going to get everything ready tonight. So in the morning, when it's time to leave, I throw it all in the suitcase.
And I am the opposite, where I'm like, I pack everything that I need except for like the last 2 or 3 things. And that way I don't have to worry. And then I'll just like wash like the 2 or 3 outfits that I had been wearing the couple of days prior over and over again, so that I don't have to unpack anything. And I go into like, I call them the second tier underwear, like the ones, not my favorite.
Gross.
No. It's like the ones that I don't wear as often, that, you know, different designs and stuff like that, so that I preserve all of the comfy clothes and the most appropriate for traveling in the suitcase. And the kids and I were packed for several days prior. So Friday, we set a deadline for you, Kris, that you had to be packed with everything downstairs, no exceptions, by 5 p.m., right?
And I pulled that off because I'm awesome that way.
Yeah.
You know? And the reason why we had set a time for that day was because when Ezekiel was here, he wanted to go have everybody go check out his favorite new movie he saw, which was the Elvis movie. Is it called Elvis or something?
Yeah, it's called Elvis.
So we went to the theater, all of us, and we saw the Elvis movie.
Well, all of us minus Clover and Pumpkin, but yeah.
But they're pets. They can't.
So we went to see the Elvis movie, and it was really great. It gave me a completely different perspective of Elvis, and it was a great way to kick off our vacation, you know, just kind of settling in and getting us all to the movies. I think we just had popcorn for dinner that night, and then we came home and everybody went to bed.
We had to get to bed because we knew we had to get up early to make sure we were all ready to go to the airport. What time did we leave for the airport? It was at 8 a.m.?
We loaded the car by 7:45, and I said to everybody, we are pulling out of the driveway at 8 a.m. on the dot, no exceptions.
Yeah, if you want to go to this trip, you better be there 8 a.m.
Yeah. So what's funny is the kids were in the car ready to go. They helped me load everything up, and then we're sitting there in the car, and the only one missing is you.
What? Where was I?
Exactly. That is a great question. You were like, oh, I just want to do this thing. I want to do this.
Well, that's the thing. If I'm going to be gone for such a long time, like we're gone like, a week and a half or whatever it was, I want to make sure that everything was locked up, the lights are off, the coffee pot's put away, the oven's off.
But you were on your
water's
phone.
not leaking. Make sure my Twitter is all handled.
Exactly. Twitter and Instagram was the bane of my existence on this vacation. But we got into the car. We got to the parking garage, and we were able to park the car, get everything unloaded, and we got ourselves to the airport through security. And, fortunately, we got there early because I kept saying we needed to get there a full 2 hours early. And most people are like, I'll just get there an hour ahead. It's domestic, but it's peak travel season. There's delays everywhere. And what I knew is the kids and I had TSA pre-check. Unfortunately, you did not. And
now,
you were going to have to wait in the big line.
TSA pre-check like first class or something?
No, it's just I've gone through the screening process to get cleared, and they've done my background check and everything like that. So when I travel with minors and I buy their tickets, then they go through TSA pre-check with me. They just won't automatically give it to another adult.
But they don't have to pay for it. Only you got to pay for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I had to go through the regular, like, the common line, all the peasants, we had to go through our regular TSA checkpoint where they get the dogs out and the rubber gloves. And you got to go through, like, the
rubber gloves.
You got, like, the red carpet laid out for you. Like, hello, come on through, Kristine. You're TSA pre-check. It's come on in. Can we get you some wine, Kristine? Can we get you some grapes? Miss Kristine. And you come right on in. Did they carry you on, like, the chair? Like the
It was a chariot.
Yeah, you come through there.
They parted the seas for me. But when we got there, the kids and I made it through rather quickly. But for you, it took you quite a long time to get through security.
Oh, there was a long line of people. What's funny is you told me these new machines, you don't have to take your laptops out of the bag, but you still need to take your shoes off, I believe.
Yeah, just your shoes.
When I went through there. So I was talking to the girl next to me about that, and she's like, do you take this off? And I said, I don't know. I mean, what's the holdup? And the funny thing is, you go through a couple stages. The first stage you go through, you get to the guy, you show him your ticket and your ID, right? And he's automatically declined 2 people in front of me. And he's like, a couple in front of me, they're arguing like, oh, our passport, our ticket's something's not right. I don't know what. And he sent them away. And I'm like, I go to him next. He's like, "Are you sure you want to go to me?"
And pause here because you are the most nervous traveler on the face of the planet going through security.
Oh,
anyways.
I totally am.
Yes.
I feel like I'm the person on that show, Locked Up Abroad, who's got like 5 pounds of cocaine in his backpack.
Oh my gosh.
And he's like going through sweating bullets, or he's got it strapped to his. That's what I feel like going through.
You almost said something inappropriate there, but so you get up to the guy, and then what do you say?
I'm already nervous. I'm like, hey, he said, I've already, sent 2 people away. Are you sure you want to go through me? Like almost like a joke. I said, whatever. Nothing to worry about. As long as you do your job right, we shouldn't have a problem. And he scans it. Everything looks great. Because I got I don't have the TSA pre-check, but I do have the other thing on my license. What's it called? It's the
real ID.
The real ID. My ID is real. And I was looking at it up. What does that even mean? It means nothing. It means totally nothing. It means nothing. It's all, it's a little sticker on there. It means there's like
a little hologram thing on it.
On the right corner.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you get free drinks. I tried that. It doesn't mean you get, automatic.
State of California, first round's on us.
It doesn't mean you don't get any perks at the airport. Like, hey, can I get a free meal or something? No, you get nothing. So anyways, I go through there, meet with you guys at the gate, and we finally get on the airplane, and we get ready to roll.
Yeah, and so our first stop was at what city was it? It was Dallas.
It was
right?
Dallas. We did have a layover. Both directions we had a layover. So we had one
Same
layover.
place though.
Yeah, Dallas International Airport. So we landed Dallas, but it was a longer layover than a normal. It was like 2 hours.
No, it was a 4-hour layover.
4 hours
because our other flight kept getting delayed later and later. So one of the things that I'd done, I told Kris ahead of time, but I hadn't told the kids, is that I'd purchased passes for us to go to the Admirals Club Lounge because we were flying American Airlines. And for, I think it's $58 per adult, you can get access to the Admirals Lounge, which is reserved typically for their first class passengers or people that have a subscription to the Admirals Lounge. And so with each adult, you can get up to 3 kids in with you for free.
Now, do I count as an adult or a kid?
Yeah, I had to purchase a separate one for you. So I purchased a ticket for you and one for me. And so Dallas is the hub for American Airlines. I think it's the national hub for American Airlines. And so when we landed, there was like American Airlines planes everywhere. So I knew that at this specific airport, because I'd done my research before I bought the tickets, that they had an Admirals Lounge in every single one of the terminals. And so I knew that this would be worth our wait because...
So for those who don't know, what is Admirals Lounge?
So what it is, you have to go through like a check-in process, and then we went up an elevator, and there's this huge... I mean, it's a lounge. Like there's comfortable chairs and couches. There's even recliners. They have free coffee and sodas and snacks, and they had some hot foods. They have a bar with complimentary, certain types of beers and wines are complimentary. And then
I didn't know they were free because I was like, see them like, are those free? I don't know. But they're giving out snacks and stuff, like you said, and drinks, and the kids were loading up on the soda machine and all that stuff.
Yeah, and then there was really nice restrooms up there where you can change and you can freshen up. So in the ladies' lounge, there was showers if you wanted to shower. There's a
They had showers?
Yeah, there was a business center.
I hit that place up.
Yeah, and so it's it's a pretty large area because it's on the second floor, so it spans a good size of the terminal, and it just gave us an opportunity to be comfortable. The kids could sit and play on their devices and charge everything. You could do podcasting stuff. I found the quiet zone. It literally said quiet zone, no cell phones allowed. And they had recliners with footrests, and I totally fell asleep. I'm sure I was snoring loud.
Oh, that is great. Now that's all better than sitting in those god awful like terminal chairs next to the in the terminal where all the chairs are at, the basic sitting area.
Totally, because they had couches without the dividers in between. They had coffee tables, they had sports. The kids were watching TV up there. And they had like this almost like a stir fry kind of Asian meal that we had rice and everybody was eating food, and they had homemade guacamole. It was so great.
Oh, that guacamole was great. They had a guacamole maker right there in front of you. He asked you how you want your guacamole. He diced and sliced and did his thing, and then he gave you the chips, and it was great.
And so for us, because it was right around dinner time, it just seemed like it was a really good use of our funds because we'd budgeted a certain amount for dinner and for lunch, but because we'd been traveling, I was like, well, the kids are going to need a place to be able to unwind a little bit. I don't want them running up and down the terminal.
Yeah, he wants that, right?
And I knew we were going to be tired and we'd want a little bit more comfortable place to relax. And it gave all of us a safe place to spread out. And we knew that the kids weren't just randomly wandering around all of these strangers in the middle of the terminal. So they could go and get themselves a drink and come back. And we knew that it was kind of like a protected area. And so it felt nice to have that couple of hours to decompress before we had to get on the last leg.
And before we knew it, we had to board the plane because I was working on my computer. I brought this computer with me, and I wish I never traveled with computers, and I was able to take it, set it all up in the little office center, and work on a couple of podcast interviews we did. I was able to do the editing on both of them, which was great.
Yeah, and then you were like, when is it time to go? And I was like, oh, we should pack up in 15 minutes. And you're like, oh my gosh, time went so fast. Well, it's because we were able to unwind. And then the kids, by the time that we got onto the next plane, they had their energy out a little bit. They'd been able to, they were prank calling people from the business center.
No, they were not.
Yes, they were.
No way.
Oh my gosh, they totally were.
Oh gosh.
They're so hilarious. And so then we got on our plane and we boarded for Miami. And then we landed in Miami at 11 p.m. Eastern time.
I thought it was later than that when we landed.
No, it was like 11:15.
But because of jet lag, for us, it really felt like 8 or 9.
Right. Which wasn't so bad. But once we got the rental car, because we had to go get on the shuttle, get the rental car, and then go to the hotel and get checked in. By the time we got settled in, it was like 1:30 Florida time.
Right. But for us, it felt like 11.
Yeah, like 10 or 11, and the kids were wired. They were so excited.
Oh, who wouldn't be? My goodness.
Oh my gosh. And for the first leg of the trip in Miami, I only booked us one hotel room. So we had all 5 of us in, but it was a suite. So it was an embassy suite. But all 5 of us were in one room, and in the front room on the sofa bed and the rollaway bed were the 3 boys, giggling and laughing and making all kinds of burping and fart noises until,
as you do when you're on vacation,
until 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh gosh. So the very next day we woke up kind of late because we're used to California time,
Right.
So for us, sleeping in till 10 or 11.
Yeah, I would think it was 9:30.
Feels, for us, actually, it's more like 6 o'clock in the morning.
Right. I got everybody up. I'd showered and I got everybody up right around like 9:15 because breakfast was ending at 10. And so I told everybody like it's time to get up, get dressed. We're going to go have breakfast. And then embassy suites are great because they have, buffet breakfast. And so I remember the kids were going around to the buffet and I just said to you, whatever they put on their plate, just go with it because it's all included. And so if one of the kids wants to eat 10 pieces of bacon, let them eat it.
Yeah, and French toast and pancakes and syrup on everything.
Yeah.
Actually, it's pretty good. The meal wasn't too bad. It was very rushed. It was very busy out there with all the people eating and everything and all that. But it was a hot meal, and they had cereal and they had, other stuff too, orange juice, coffee.
They had an omelet station, which wasn't so great at this one because they didn't use the pans. They used the griddle.
It was weird.
Yeah. But, it was a good breakfast and it got us a good start. And then the boys were so excited because on our first day in Miami, our first day in Florida was our only full day in Miami. We were taking them to the Gator Park.
Now, this is down in the Everglades, which is the southern part of Florida, where it's a big swampland, where the water kind of comes in and swamps everything up and makes it a big swamp, as you would
like
think.
a marsh. They said that it's the slowest moving river in the world because it's basically stagnant, but it comes from the Lake Okeechobee, and then it funnels into the Everglades, which then funnel into the ocean from there.
Right.
And so, when there's water, it's not always super deep, but it's really known for all of the different types of creatures that live in the Everglades that are unique to that area.
One in particular is the alligator.
Yeah. And so Ezekiel and I had gone down to this area before when we were in Miami. We did some research and I purchased tickets to a different place to be able to take us on an airboat tour, right?
Now, an airboat, if you don't know, it's pretty funny is that it's a big boat like you would think, but it doesn't go very deep in the water. It sits very much like you can put this thing on like very shallow water, almost no water at all, and it can still operate, which is kind of weird. and there's no rudders that go into the water. Everything's above the water. The blades that actually push the boat are big fan propeller blades, and right behind the propeller blades are these actual rudders that actually move back and forth. That's how I was watching, like, because nothing goes in the water at all.
It's almost like a hovercraft.
Exactly. It's exactly like a hovercraft. What
Yeah.
it is, without the actual like balloon part at the bottom, it
Right.
just sits on the water. It's probably the first generation of hovercraft was these things, I would think.
Yeah, and so these airboats, the airboat tours are pretty popular down in the Everglades. And what they'll do is they'll take you out through the Everglades, and there's areas where you couldn't see that there was even very much water. You could see all of the like tall grasses, but then we're just like
Driving over everything.
It.
It's
Yeah.
funny, we're driving over bushes, it seems like. You're driving over all these weeds and stuff on a boat going really fast. And one of the guys asked the captain, he said, how do you guys not get lost out here? Because everything looks the same. It's all bushes and brush and stuff. And you're just cruising around different paths and stuff. It's almost like the Jungle Cruise, you know, but it's not, you know. And we only saw like two alligators out there in the wild. And when you look at them, you almost don't even recognize them because of all the brush and debris.
Yeah, they almost look like a big rock.
Right, like or some kind of like a log or something in the water. Because they all camouflage very well, and only their eyeballs like peek out of, like maybe their nostrils peek out of the water. That's all you see. It's not like in the movies. I was imagining like them like jumping up and down, splashing, doing this whole like Jurassic World thing where they're jumping over, catching fish, all this stuff. We didn't see any of that stuff really.
No, I think before the Everglades tours became more regulated by the Everglades National Park, that you would see people doing the kind of like shock and awe kind of stuff. A lot of the areas that are there on the Everglades National Park have been bought up by the actual National Parks Department. But I used to see videos where they would like put like a spear of meat out over the water just so they could get an alligator. Why do we go
on that true? That sounds more fun.
Well, they don't do that anymore. They used to let you hold the baby gators and things like that. But
and take one home as a souvenir. Yeah.
Yeah, no. But I did see a baby gator, and it was less than 10 inches long. And I was crossing this bridge going back towards the front. This was after I rescued you from your heat stroke, which we'll talk about in a minute. And I saw this little baby gator somebody else was pointing out, and it was so cute just swimming there, and I just wanted to hold it, but I knew that there had to be a mama nearby.
Did it look like a lizard?
Yeah, but a little bit longer. It was so cute. I have photos.
Now, speaking of Chris's heat exhaustion, now...
Chris's, you mean yours?
Yes. Okay, the temperature said like 90 degrees or something like that, right? With some humidity. I think, I've had humidity before here. And 90 degrees out here in the summer is actually quite cool because this gets up to 100, 105 here in the summer,
Yeah.
So I'm like, gosh, I can totally handle 90 degrees. No problem. Whatever. No, I can handle it.
So what we had done right before that, though, is we went through this show where they had the gators and they were like teaching you about the gators, and then we did photos with the gators, the baby gator, Scrappy, or Snappy, and we were walking back, and I was like, hey, I'm walking back, and you're like, oh, I'm just going to go over here a little bit, and I was like, are you sure? Can you find your way back? And you're like, yeah, I'll be fine, and you just took off in a different direction from me.
No, what I did was I walked up the platform. They had a platform. You look up and you can see above the marsh. You can look down and get a more better view. It's like a, like a little, almost like a gazebo, but built up like a second story. So I go up there and I'm there checking things out, and I go back to where it says exit this way. So I follow the exit sign. What I did realize is that they have this built up walkway, like plank, almost like a bridge, but above the water, because they obviously would be in the water. So you can like walk around the path and you can see everything. Well, unfortunately, it does a Y. And it doesn't say left way goes back to the main headquarters and right way just goes around in a big circle. I went the wrong way. So I went around a big circle, and I'm like, and I kept going around and around. And this time there's no drinking fountains or anything. I'm dying of heat exhaustion, and it's so hot.
And because of why? Because you didn't do what?
I didn't hydrate.
You didn't take bottled water with you like I made all of the kids.
I left it in the car. I'm going to be fine.
And he's like, I'll be fine. And so then I get this panicked call or 911 text saying I just passed out, which you didn't. I just passed out. And I'm dying. To pass out, and I'm dying. No, you said I passed out. I'm dying. 911, 911, 911. And it all comes through. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? And here I'm trying to wrangle all three kids and kind of get them hydrated. And then I said to Ezekiel, go take this water and go find Kris, please. And then Ezekiel comes out to find you, but it was so hot that he came back and he was like panting, and he wasn't even walking far, but it was such an extreme kind of heat that our bodies were not used to, that after being there, like as soon as I went and I finally found you, which I did find you, and I had water for you, I got everybody in the car. I was like, we're leaving here now because
air conditioning is on full blast. Get everybody Gatorades. I think what it was that I had bad headaches too, is that the dehydration and the humidity is so bad that it actually saps the water out of my brain and sucks it out of my pores. And I was sweating so bad.
Dehydration doesn't start with dehydrating your brain, though, dear.
For me, it does.
No.
That's why I get headaches. That's a proven fact. That's why I get headaches. When it's dehydrating, it's really hot. I get headaches because
Thank you, Dr. Kris.
I know the water gets sucked out of my brain, and my head hurts.
So the Gator Park was really fun. The heat and the humidity was unreal, and so all of that as a cautionary tale to remember this when you get ready to vacation in Florida in the summer. Maybe don't choose the summer. Maybe choose the fall or the spring. It might be a little bit milder for you.
Or buy one of those like hydration water packs and start sucking that all day. You know, they do have these packs you can buy that are like pajamas that are like inner-wired cool like water that goes through you.
Inner-wired pajamas?
Like they got like a wire in there, but they're not like a wire with electricity. It's a wire.
Is it like a cooling suit?
A cooling suit, yeah. It's full of like a fluid of some sort, probably water or whatever. And it goes through, keeps your body temperature cool. But I don't know how that would help you when you're sweating bullets all day long. I
don't know. But I mean, one of those Camelback water sets would have been good for us to each have on our back so that we were hydrating the whole day.
Or one of those fans that have the water misters in them. You spray in your face all day.
But after we left the Gator Park, we drove over to Little Havana. And
now, Little Havana is like, because Havana is it's on Cuba, which is a totally different country than United States. So, but Little Havana, isn't it like kind of like Old Town here in San Diego? I thought it was like that.
It kind of looks like that a little bit, but it is where there's a higher concentration of the Cuban population, and there's a lot of different Cuban infused cultural components there and restaurants. Ezekiel and I wanted to take you all through Miami in a way that we'd gone through before, doing things that we loved. And so we went back to this restaurant that I took Ezekiel to on our last trip to Miami. And it was just this little Cuban eatery, and it was great. There was music, and it was really an adorable setting. And we sat in this booth where half of it was designed like the back of an old-fashioned car.
Right. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Almost like the Corvette Diner, I think.
Yeah, totally. And it was super fun, and the food was great. And then we took the kids for some ice cream. And after that, we were zapped. We were so tired.
Oh, everywhere you went that had air conditioning, this goes for all Florida for the most part. People huddle to it like everybody just
like moths to a flame.
Yeah, everybody crowds to the air conditioning wherever it is, just to get out of the heat. Even in the shade a little bit, everyone just crowds to the shade. It seems like the sun was just unreal, which is crazy because we've been in Hawaii, we've been here, been to Cabo, been to Mexico. I haven't seen anything like this ever.
Well, it was just really, really hot. And so after lunch, we went back to the hotel to relax for a little bit. And we took a nap for a couple of hours. You and I both had headaches at that point in time.
Oh, misery city. I think, like I said, all the water gets sucked out of my brain. Gives me a headache.
We were drinking lots of water, lots of Gatorade. And then we rallied for dinner time. And we went down to an area in South Beach called Espanola Way.
Now that like the, what is it, like Fifth Avenue of the, or the Las Vegas Boulevard of the...
No, I mean, Espanola Way is just kind of like a famous place where there's a lot of outdoor eateries and things like that. But we did drive the kids down by the main street down in South Beach where they could see a bunch of the like clubs and things like that.
Oh, yeah, Lamborghinis are parked on the road. No, like the kids are arguing over what car that was.
Yeah, the kids were so funny. They were like, "There's a club girl. There's a club girl," and I'm like,
"No
how
way.
do you even know what a club girl is? Like, stop!" And they were like, "We want to go there. We're 18." And I'm like, "You have to be 21," and no, you're not.
I want to go to the clubs.
Yeah.
12-year-olds want to go to the clubs.
But there was this Italian restaurant Ezekiel and I had gone to before. It was called Hosteria Romana, and it was so fun. And we went there, and that was our one fancy dinner night on our vacation was there. And it was great. It was great food. We enjoyed it. I mean, I had great food. You didn't care for it because you decided to order a Hawaiian pizza.
I don't know. The thing is with me not feeling well the whole entire day, I was so full from lunch still. And I was just like, you know what? I don't know what sounds good here. I'm like, just give me a pizza. I'll just do Hawaiian. I'll just do like basic pizza. And it wasn't that great.
Yeah. I think it was more about the restaurant choosing to punish you for deciding to order a Hawaiian pizza at like a bougie Italian restaurant versus it not being that great.
And like I said before, I wasn't feeling well. So I think when you're not feeling well, you don't feel like eating anything. It could be on what it was.
I guess so. But again, this goes back to you being one of the most miserable travelers on the face of the planet. Admit it.
Okay. You win.
I do win. So at the end of that day, we went back to the hotel and we got ready for... we packed as much as we could up because the next morning we were getting ready to depart bright and early for Orlando.
Straight to Disney World itself. Now, we weren't going to stop at the hotel first. We were going to load everything up and go straight to the hotel. Straight to the Disney World parking lot and park the vehicle with all our stuff in the car and then go straight into the park for our very first day because our tickets started that day.
Yeah, we could have used them any day. But we only had, we paid for 5 days in the park, and then we only had 5 days there. So we definitely wanted to maximize it. And so we got on the road. I drove us up there. Everybody was sleeping in the car. Man, I was tired. I had to keep taking breaks because at this point, jet lagged and dehydrated and dealing with you.
Dealing with me?
Yeah. Dealing with you, Grumpus.
What an angel I was. I know.
Oh, my word. And, wrangling all of the kids, it was a lot, but I got us up there. And then once we got to Magic Kingdom on the first day, it was like, I was wide awake. I was so excited.
Everybody's super excited to get to Disney World. Now, for those who may not know, Disney World, there is 4 major parks to Disney World. There is the Magic Kingdom, the Epcot, the Hollywood Studios, and the Animal Kingdom. Those are the 4 main parks, and those are the 4 main parks we went to. And for those who do not know, because I know people in California do not know this, is that they are not close by to each other at all. They are literally miles apart.
I had no clue how far apart they were. When they asked online if you wanted to get hopper passes between the parks, I was thinking at first, I knew it wasn't as close as Disneyland and California Adventure where you can literally walk across the courtyard to the other one. But I had no concept of how huge these parks are.
They're big and just so much land out there. Disney bought he bought almost a whole state worth of land out there in that whole Florida area when they made the place. But the first we went to was called the Magic Kingdom. Now, the Magic Kingdom is probably the closest to Disneyland land of the parks there. So it's the one that we are most familiar with. They have very similar rides.
And similar layout to a certain extent, getting over to the Splash Mountain area and having the big Mark Twain boat in the center. And
the castle's right in the middle where the other one is.
Yeah, and then having Tomorrowland on one side. There was a couple of things that were laid out differently. But the thing is everything was so spread out there and the walkways were so wide. But the thing that blew me away first is I had no clue that when you go to Magic Kingdom and once you go through security, that you get to take either a monorail or a ferry boat to the entrance.
And this is a trip, though. It's almost like it's on its own private island.
Seriously, it is.
It's like its own island to get to the front door of the theme park. I remember that from last time I went there many, many years ago. We had to take a boat. I forgot we had to take a boat I thought maybe they fixed it or something, or maybe they put a parking lot or something,
No, it totally blew me away where, here we get ready to go through, and I'm like, where's the entrance to the park? And you're like, oh, babe, I totally forgot. We got to go either on the ferry or the monorail. And the monorail was closed the first time we got into the park. So we took this big ferry boat across this huge lake. And then you see, I was going to say Disneyland. You see Magic Kingdom in front of you. And then we all get through the gates. And it was just, I was almost crying. I think I was kind of crying.
I think you were crying,
on the ferry boat. I was so excited because it's a thing I've dreamt of since I was a little girl.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Magic Kingdom is probably the most popular of all the parks they have there. I would think.
It was my favorite.
Well, I'm saying if you're going to do one there at the whole entire park, probably Magic Kingdom because it has the castles there, all them, the stuff you're more familiar with.
It has the Disney magic.
Yeah.
It felt the most Disney. I would say that out of all the parks, Magic Kingdom felt the most Disney-like. The Animal Park felt more like, or Animal Kingdom felt more like the San Diego Zoo.
Oh, it did. Totally did.
And
yeah.
Hollywood Studios felt, it was like California Adventure. And then Epcot was just so cool.
Oh, yeah.
But it's so different.
It is.
Yeah.
So after we wrapped up that entire, we want to talk about, we have dinner that day or the next day?
We had dinner the next day, but at Magic Kingdom, so we got in there at like 1:30 and we stayed there until park closing pretty much.
Right, the last ferry to get back out of there. So
Yeah.
it was last boat leave of the dock.
We kept saying, we were like, okay, we'll leave at like 9 since we have a whole nother day here. But we got to almost every single ride we wanted to go on in the first day, which was
crazy.
really amazing.
That was so awesome. Using that whole ticket pass thing you're using and the whole, well, they don't call it fast pass. They call it
Lightning Lane.
Lightning Lane, yeah. And you scan these little wristbands and you get everything done on this app and you figure out where you want to be, what ride, what time you got to be there. So Kristine was working the deal, working her magic at the Magic Kingdom.
Well, so, and this is something that we wanted to share. So for families that have children with exceptional needs, Disney World does have a program for disability access, and we have a child that happens to have some disabilities. And I knew this from taking him to Disneyland when he was younger, that there's a way that you can help navigate different amusement parks in an easier way to help kiddos that may have a bit more difficulty developmentally staying in a long line. And so Ezekiel and I had done the work to get the disability access services to be able to minimize the chances of it being super difficult for him to be at a place where it could be so overwhelming. And so we were really careful about how we scheduled our day to help it flow smoothly, but it ended up working really well for all of us. And the kids were super happy. And it was like, we'd get on a virtual wait for a ride. And while we were waiting for our time to come up, we'd take the kids to get a bite to eat or go on another shorter ride. And it made for a really great first day. So by the end of the day, we'd already walked like 7 miles and the kids were exhausted.
They were. So by the time we actually checked out of that first day, we had to go find the hotel, check into that, do the whole check-in process, park the car, unload the luggage,
unpack,
find the room, unpack, get resettled in, and to get all the kids in bed again, just to wake up and do it all over again. Back over to the Magic Kingdom for day 2.
Right. But the difference with this one is I had booked us into two separate rooms, 2 suites at another Embassy suite with an adjoining door through the middle. And I'd done that work to be able to make sure that the kids could have their room, we could have our room, but they were connected together. That way, Kris and I could get a little bit of rest because taking kids on a big trip like this is exhausting. And
oh yeah, it is.
And it's exhausting for kids too if they don't have space to be able to unwind. And so the room next door to us looked a little bit like a frat house by the second day.
Really? Yeah, the kids had their toys and stuff everywhere.
Yeah, but I have to give a big shout out to the Embassy Suites in Lake Buena Vista because it was really nice inside. They had a great pool area. They had a pool area bar. They had a restaurant on site. They made pizzas on site. They had ice cream on site. They had it decorated like Disney. Like there was a whole like R2-D2 right when you walk in the front door.
And a full-blown Mickey Mouse statue,
right.
too.
And so it really made it feel like the Disney experience. But we spent, for the 2 rooms combined, less than we would have for one standard room at a Disney hotel.
No way. And those, by the way, those Disney hotels were amazing. You saw them on the ferry boat as you go over to the Magic Kingdom. Mm-hmm. You can see there is one over there. I don't know what it's called, but it's like a replica of the San Diego Coronado Hotel Del.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called, though. They copied it exactly. Same color and everything. But the hotel we stayed at was fine. I loved it. The kids had a great time.
Oh, yeah. They made friends because there was kids from other schools there, and they were playing out in the pool. But that wasn't the first night. We got settled the first night. And then the second day that we went into the park, we went back to Magic Kingdom. Right, Kris?
Right. Because like I said, there is 4 parks there. And we bought 5 days worth. So you have to do one day twice. And we all kind of settled on, let's do the Magic Kingdom one twice. Because that one seems like has the most fun stuff.
Right.
It probably has the most attractions, probably of all the parks in one thing. So you probably almost need 2 days for that park over all of them. So we already rode most of them the day before. So this day we rode the things we didn't do, and we just repeated some of the other ones.
Yeah, and we had reservations for a very early dinner at a restaurant on Main Street, the Plaza Inn, or the Plaza Restaurant, which is like the Plaza Inn at Disneyland. And it's nothing spectacular. It's just, be able to have that Disney dining experience. Well, we went in, our reservation was delayed a little bit because they were behind. So we finally got seated around like 4:15. And as we're sitting down and enjoying our dinner, we look outside and see an absolute downpour happening. And it was like perfect timing that we stayed out of the rain and we were inside. By the time we were done eating, the rain had passed and the thunder and lightning was gone.
It was funny watching everybody run for cover. Everyone's like running like it's cats and dogs, running under rubber things and umbrellas coming out and those little like poncho slicker things are coming out. People are running everywhere. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot. It does rain a lot out here. I didn't think about that,
Yeah. And so we had a great day. And one of the things that was a big thing for Ezekiel, and he did this on the first day and then on the second day, is that he had wanted, since he was little, his dad had told him about the Country Bear Jamboree, which is something they used to have at Disneyland, but they still had it at Disney World. And so I was able to take him on the first day and on the second day.
And I saw it too with the other kids too.
Yeah. So we were able to go and see the Country Bear Jamboree, and that was really fun for him. And all of the kids had a really great time, I think, at Magic Kingdom. Don't you?
I think they had fun at all the parks because every single park, we'll get into more of this later, has a really exciting thrill ride there. They all have got their big, like, attraction. Now, what was the big attraction at Magic Kingdom? Do you remember?
They had a lot, but, like Space Mountain was one.
Oh, Big Thunder was there.
Splash Mountain.
Splash Mountain. That mine train, that new mine train we rode, the Seven Dwarfs.
Oh, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train ride. That was good.
It's very similar to Big Thunder Mountain, but smaller. And what's interesting about that ride is that the cars themselves actually like rock and they're like,
it was too much for me. I went on it and it gave me a little bit of whiplash, and I was like, okay, I can't do this.
We loved it. We went on it twice. It was so amazing.
I love the slower rides like the Little Mermaid,
Jungle Cruise.
We
went on like was it Pirates of the Caribbean like three times?
Yeah.
Haunted Mansion twice. A lot of the rides there, they're very similar to the ones at Disneyland, but they're a little different,
Yeah. And so we had a great time, and at the end of the second day, we just kind of bid our farewells to Magic Kingdom because we were on to the next park, right, Kris?
Now, the very next park, we had to get there at a certain time, actually early, because we had reservations. Now, the next park is for the Hollywood Studios Park, which is like it's all movie-related type stuff. So in the movie-related stuff, so now that Disney owns Star Wars franchise, they decided to build their Star Wars land at Hollywood Studios, and they got one here at Disneyland, but the one we went to is the one obviously there.
Yeah, and that was huge. Like, I thought maybe it would be like one ride and a couple of little shops, but when we walked into Star Wars Land and it kept going and going and going, I was blown away with the amount of work and detail that was put into Star Wars Land.
They had characters walking around, they had sets and props, and they had
the Stormtroopers.
Right.
We were walking through. Go ahead.
And they talked to Ezekiel. Ezekiel's talking smack back to him. It's so funny. I got it on video, by the way.
Yeah, it's so funny. And so we had a reservation. So going into this trip, we knew that we were going to buy a couple of souvenirs for the kids. And the big souvenir that we were getting for them is I made reservations for each of the boys to design their own custom droid at the Droid Depot in Star Wars Land. And I also had made a reservation for you to make one. And when we got there, you were like, I don't want to make one for myself. Well, we knew we wanted to take a souvenir back for Jacob and Mason's little brother. So we had you make yours for their little brother.
That's exactly what I did. When you build these droids, first thing you do is you got to pay for it, of course. And then you get a little basket. You take the basket over to this conveyor section. And the conveyor section, all these little parts of all the droids are going by in this conveyor. They go around the back and they come right in front of you. It's almost like a little conveyor, like, I don't know.
Like a conveyor belt, like an assembly line.
Exactly. So you pick off the pieces that you need to build your droid. Now, each droid basically consists of like four pieces. It's like the head piece, the body piece, the legs, and the front leg. And that's pretty much it. So there's different colors and different sizes, different types of droid you want to build. You got to put them together. So I had the clerk there helping me out and helping the kids out, figure out what kind they want to build. It's funny. Mason, our youngest, he wanted to build the exact replica of R2-D2. So he did. find all the right pieces he needed to build an exact R2-D2. So he did that. I built kind of a random one. Zeke built kind of a random one. Jacob built one too. So we finally go over to the second section where they have other workers helping you put the whole thing together.
Yeah, and they have like it's kind of like a drill. It's like a long, skinny screwdriver thing. So you actually get to screw things together, and they give you the option to purchase a personality chip for your droid.
So which we did, by the way.
Yeah. So they have like different noises, sounds that they make when they talk to you. And then once they activate them and program them, you get to like test them out a little bit. And oh gosh, the kids loved that. And you know what's so funny is they wanted, before the trip, they were begging to go do the build your own lightsabers. But I really thought that they would love these droids the most. And those things occupied them for hours. And I think better than the lightsabers, because lightsabers are so physical, and the droids, they would just have their droids start fighting each other. And then they bought these attachments for like little rocket launchers.
Yes, accessories you can buy, because you can attach these things to the side of the droid, like lasers that light up or whatever, different like accessories, a whole bunch of them you can do. I mean, Disney, they know what they're doing when it comes to like accessories and marketing and stuff like that. So, but the kids did build lightsabers, but they didn't build the ones they originally wanted to. These were more of like the plastic ones.
Yeah, they were like $30 versus $200. And so I thought that was a really good decision for them.
Oh, yeah. They had a good time building those too. And once again, Mason had to build something exactly like in the movie. So he built the double-bladed Darth Maul lightsaber. He built that thing, which is funny. The double-bladed lightsaber they have in that shop is basically two lightsabers just stuck together in the
with
middle.
Like a centerpiece.
So you actually get two for the price of one, but it is more money, but it's not quite the same price if you bought two. So he did that. He had a fun time doing that. And then we got to ride both of the Star Wars rides at the Star Wars Land, and they were amazing.
Yeah, so we made the pre-reservation through the Disability Access Services. We could book 2 rides in advance, and we were able to book a reservation for the Millennium Falcon. But then we were also able to get on the virtual waiting list for Rise of the Resistance. And so that, I mean, they were both so well done. Rise of the Resistance was pretty amazing because it wasn't just a ride.
It's like a show.
Like a whole attraction.
You're going through the show. You're part of the show. You got people talking to you, directing you in different ways. You got characters doing things in front of you, and you're in a cage one moment. You're getting blasted out another moment. You got lightsabers going through walls. You got special effects. Then you get sit down on this ride. The ride's moving all around this room. You got lasers flying around. You got things happening. You got different characters doing things.
It was really awesome. This is from a woman's perspective who's not so into all of the Star Warsy kind of stuff.
How dare you?
It was, I mean, I've watched a number of the movies, not all of them, but I was really blown away by how well done it was. And it was, like I said, not just a ride. It was like a whole attraction and experience. And
I can see why people wait hours to ride this thing.
100%.
Or waited, for months to get when they first opened the place, to get like a wristband to be one of the first ones to ride it or something crazy, like how crazy it was. And the Millennium Falcon ride, which I thought it wasn't as great as the other one, but I thought it was still good too, because 6 people get to go in this little cockpit thing, and 2 get to drive it, 2 get to shoot guns, and 2 get to navigate.
Right.
It's like a big video game.
And so we had fun. We had another lady join us as one of the engineers with me, but Jacob and Ezekiel got to be the pilots, and then you and Mason, you were the shooters, right?
Right. I'm just pushing buttons.
Or the gunners, yeah.
Yeah, the lights light up on the side of the panel, and you're supposed to make it simple. They just tell you, push the button that's lit up. So I'm like constantly just pushing it back and forth.
Right.
Push your button. I'm pushing my button. He's pushing his button. We're flying around with Jacob and Ezekiel are flying something. It was so much fun.
But it was so hot in the park that day, and Hollywood Studios does not have a lot of shade at all.
No, it does not. It's very open. It's very street-like.
And it's a lot of concrete, and especially in Star Wars land, a lot of concrete walls, so that just like keeps the heat in there. And so we got to this point in the day where it was just so hot and we were dripping, and Mason was like done. And so you and I and Mason went to go sit in the car
and wait for the other kids.
And we gave Ezekiel and Jacob a little bit of independence for about an hour to go get on whatever rides they could and to buy their last souvenirs and then meet us in the car.
But before we left, I've got to tell you, one of the coolest rides at Hollywood Studios was that indoor roller coaster with Aerosmith.
The rock and roller coaster.
The rock and roller coaster. It was funny. All of these rides, whether it's a Star Wars ride or this one or any of them, I go into this whole thing totally blind because I don't know what to expect.
Yeah,
right?
me either.
So we go to this rock and roller coaster thing, and I don't know what it was. I didn't know if it was a virtual reality thing or a Star Wars kind of thing. So we go in there, and it's an actual real roller coaster with a head strap that goes down, and it locks you in. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know what to expect. And it just shoots you out into the dark. Full throttle, and then you go through like a loop and then through another loop, and you're like going upside down, do these crazy things in the dark.
All indoors in the dark,
with flashing lights and music and all this kinds of stuff. And it was funny. We're all done. Mason tells me, he's the youngest, he's only 10. He says, that was my very first upside down roller coaster, and he said, I want to do it again. He loved it. It was great.
It was fun. And so we had lunch. We went to Toys Land and Toy Story Land. We rode on some of the Toy Story rides. And what was really cool is we went on the, what's it called? The little, the game, the Toy Story shootout game.
It's like Toy Story Mania or something.
Yeah, Toy Story Mania. And we had just finished it. And we were like 2 carts away from exiting the ride. And the whole ride shuts down. And so we were kind of stuck there. But, they had to they really shut it down. And they got everybody out of their little seats. But because of that meant that we all got an automatic fast pass for a select number of different rides, which meant that when we decided to leave the park, Ezekiel and Jacob could go on another ride of their choice and just basically walk right onto the lightning lane. And so they chose to go back to
the Millennium Falcon ride.
Yeah, Millennium Falcon ride. And so I kept a map and I was marking off the rides in each of the parks to try and make sure that we got through as many of them as possible. And so when I would see that there was one we hadn't gone on, I'd say, oh, did you guys want to go on this ride? And then we'd decide whether or not we wanted to go on that ride. And that helped keep us on track of trying to get every single ride done at every single park.
Right. We basically rode all the big ones for the most part. So at the end of the day, when we finally left Disney's Hollywood Studios, it did start raining again. It was crazy lighting, crazy rain, and the kids wanted to use the pool back at the hotel. But the hotel closed the pool.
Like we literally were walking out the gate and the kids were just about to jump into the pool. And they said there was lightning 4 miles away and they had to close down the pool. So then we were like back from the parks. We were in the room already, everybody in their bathing suits. And then we had to keep the kids occupied for the rest of the evening. And so we just decided to have the hotel make us pizzas, and we ate pizza downstairs and had ice cream. And then the boys went upstairs and they had droid battles for the rest of the evening.
Oh, they played with all their toys from Disney World.
Yeah.
They had a great time, though. That was on Wednesday. So at the end of Wednesday, we finally got the kids to bed, and everybody goes to sleep. Thursday was a new day and a new park.
Yeah. And I was really excited for this park because I'd always seen the pictures of Epcot since I was little, and my parents had gone when I was younger and they said it was really cool. You'd talked it up to me, Kris, but I really had no idea of what to expect. I just knew that the new Guardians of the Galaxy ride was going to be at Epcot and that it was really hard to get on. And so first thing in the morning, I was supposed to log in at 7 to try and get us on the virtual wait list, but I forgot and I got into the shower. By the time I got out of the shower at 7:15, all of the slots for the morning were already booked up. So I was like, okay, I had one more chance at 1 o'clock once we got into the park to try and make it. So we got ready, we went into the park, and we started our day. And out of all of the parks, you would think that there wasn't as much to do as at Epcot, but I think we only got through half the stuff. And we walked almost 11 miles that day.
I did do some research. I did watch like a documentary about Disney World. And I think Epcot is the largest of all the parks they have there.
Yeah?
You wouldn't think about it, but I guess it is. So we do walk around the entire place. It's quite a bit of walking. And
because they have that huge lake in the center. So it's not like you can walk straight through the middle of anything.
Well, you got to walk around the whole thing and all that stuff. But Kristine was mentioning the Guardians of the Galaxy ride. It's another ride. I had no idea what it was. So we finally get on the thing and we ride it. It's another thing, just like the Star Wars thing where it's a big show and there's an experience in different rooms you go to and different things happening. It's quite amazing.
Right. So we were in Epcot. We were having a great morning and went to a lot of different rides. And the thing about Epcot is there were so many different places that were indoors that it didn't feel like we were walking as much because we were indoors and cool.
Oh, and thank God for air conditioning.
Yeah. So, right before 1 o'clock, we were getting ready to go walk to another ride. And I just asked everybody to just pause and drink their Gatorade Well, I tried to get us on the virtual wait for Guardians of the Galaxy. And so I was on the app right when it turned to 1 o'clock and I got us in. So right at 1 o'clock, I got us on the virtual queue and it said that our time for Guardians of the Galaxy was going to be at 6:45. It was that long of a wait.
Oh, well, it was well worth it because, like I said, I didn't know what this ride even was. I for some reason, I just thought it would be another Star Tours kind of ride.
Right.
Or like a Millennium Falcon kind of ride where you're like in a room and it's like a big screen in front of you. You're moving around in front of the screen or something. Okay, or something like that. I had no idea what to expect.
I loved it. I loved Guardians of the Galaxy. I was laughing and it was like, not because it was funny, but because it was like, it was the smoothest roller coaster I've ever been on.
And that's the thing. It's a roller coaster.
Right. And I didn't feel like it was jerky at all, but it was like going side to side and kind of swirling you down. But it didn't feel like I was getting whiplash like a traditional roller coaster. It was just so fun.
It's like you're flying, really.
Totally.
Now, if you don't know, the Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster is based after the Guardians of the Galaxy movies with the movie franchise and the characters and all that stuff. Now, the whole theme of the ride is that you're going through space and you're flying through these wormhole things. So it's kind of like Space Mountain in a way, where there's lights like Space Mountain, like you're in the dark in a roller coaster like Space Mountain. But it's got loud music, flashing lights, very smooth, like Kristine says. And the kicker, I think, was the fact that this train car, roller coaster car, for whatever reason, they decided to program it to where the actual cars themselves can move in 360 degrees on the track. And
forward and backwards.
Oh, right. It shot us off backwards. So, well, actually, it's forward for the car, but backwards for us because the chairs itself rotate in 365.
Right.
So you're facing one way and then it faces another way. And then you face towards this thing or that thing. You're flying. And I heard also it's one of the longest indoor roller coasters in the world.
That's so cool. But we had a blast at Epcot and we did a lot of different rides. So again, we hit all of the major rides that were in the park. I don't know if we got to every single thing. There was one thing that I didn't get to do, and it was the Beauty and the Beast sing-along, which I also didn't get to do the Frozen Forever After sing-along. So I'm going to have to go back just to do sing-alongs. But we were able to go on the Ratatouille ride, which is really...
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was really fun. And when Ezekiel and I went to Paris a couple years ago, we wanted to go to Paris Disney to the Ratatouille restaurant, and we couldn't because we just couldn't get reservations. And so it was really fun to be able to go to the Ratatouille ride in
Paris, actually.
Right, in the Paris land in Epcot. And then we were also able to go on the Frozen ride, which is funny because the kids didn't want to go on it. Well, Jacob didn't want to go on it. And Mason was like, I don't want to go on it. And then we got them to go on it because it was the last ride at Epcot. And I'd done everything everybody else had wanted to go on. Everybody ended up really loving that ride.
It's funny, that ride, if I remember correctly, was an actual rebrand of another ride they had there in the same spot. It was in the Norway land of the Epcot Center in the World Pavilion area they have there. And basically it's a boat ride. It's like Pirates of the Caribbean, but it actually goes down a couple waterfalls backwards and forwards, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. But we've missed one really big part of the day when we were at Epcot. So when we finished, let's rewind a little bit. Before we got to Guardians of the Galaxy, we spent our whole morning going on other rides, soaring over the world, Nemo and Friends. We went on a bunch of different types of rides. And then we went to, we were going on this test track ride and the spaceship Earth and the Mission Space. The test track was really fun because it's like you design your own race car and then you test out the speed. And the kids were funny because Jacob and Ezekiel were on one team and Mason was on another team with us. And so we were seeing whose car was going to win. And each car won some of the different races. But after that, we'd made a reservation for a character dinner at the Garden Grill, and it was one that Ezekiel had been really looking forward to because it had his favorite characters, Chip and Dale.
Now, this Garden Grill, it's a restaurant, and the cool thing was that I saw the menu, and it showed things on the menu, and it showed one price. I was like, that's weird. Why is there only one price for everything? It's kind of odd. Well, it turns out it's all-you-can-eat style. It's like home style. They bring all the food to you as much as you want. You want more mashed potatoes? We'll bring you more of that. We'll bring you meat, whatever you want. They just keep bringing it to you. That's why the prices are kind of expensive for each person, but it's not a buffet, but it's a home style.
Family style, yeah.
Family style, as much as you want to eat, unlimited. Now, the restaurant itself is sat on this carousel that slowly turned all the way around and faced this other ride we went on, all the way around the backside.
Yeah, but
really
very
neat.
slow rotation.
Oh yeah, very slow. I mean, it was so slow that it's slow enough that you actually notice that you're in a different place,
Yeah.
but not fast enough to where you're like, oh, I'm getting sick here or something.
Right. And then the other fantastic thing about this is that the characters come to you. So everybody sits in their own booth. Like every family sits in their own booth. And so it's like you're sitting facing out on this circle and the characters come around to each table. And so we got to have dedicated time with each of the characters, which because of COVID, the characters aren't really giving autographs out in the parks. They kind of stay from a distance so that they're not mobbed by all of the kids. But here we got to have like Chip and Dale came to the table, and the kids got to talk with them. Mickey Mouse came right up to the table, and oh gosh, it was so cute. And Mason was so excited, and they got to get their autographs and then
pictures and selfies and then hugs.
And then Kris got to talk to Mickey Mouse like Mickey Mouse.
Oh boy, gee, thanks for coming by my park today. It was great.
And when the manager was there, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, that's actually one of the best that we've heard in terms of."
He said that? For real?
Yeah, he did. I only caught like a snippet of it on the video, but the kids loved it, and they were really excited to have that character experience. And like I was saying, Kris and I, we budgeted out like 2 nice meals while we were on vacation, and then the rest of our meals were like, we tried to do less expensive types of options, like something small or like something quick, or like we did pizza at the hotel, or we would get breakfast that's included at the hotel before we left. But we splurged on that dinner in Espanola Way in Miami, and then on the character dinner. And the kids loved it. And so right after dinner, after everybody was stuffed, we went on the Guardians of the Galaxy ride. And after we finished the Guardians of the Galaxy
because it's indoors.
Ride, yeah. So after we finished the Guardians of the Galaxy ride, we come walking out. And then what did you say?
I'm like, why is everybody blocking the doorway to get out of here? Like everyone's huddled around the doorway. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. And I'm like, come on, excuse me, we need to try to get through. As I look out the door, I just see the biggest rainstorm I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, this is like Noah's Ark kind of rain. It's crazy, crazy rain. Nobody's outside. Everyone's huddling inside bathrooms or wherever they can find a shade. Everyone's like, it's weird because it was bright and sunny before we went on the ride.
Yeah, but so the funny thing is, Kris was behind Ezekiel. So it was me and then Ezekiel and the boys, and then Kris was in the back, and he saw the rain first. But I was in the front of the line. And so I'm like walking through, and I was thinking, okay, one thing that I know about Disney in the rain is that they'll get out of line for the rides, and they'll go and try and wait out the rainstorm, which means it's the best possible time to go and get on the rides when it's pouring rain.
So you guys take off.
Not us guys. I took off. And then Ezekiel, I walked out there and no poncho or anything. And then Ezekiel ran out after me, and then Jacob and Mason, and then you come out and you're like, this is crazy.
I'm not sitting in this. So I went to the first bathroom I found.
I know. He's like, I've got to go to the bathroom right now.
I did have to go to the bathroom. It's raining.
And then he hid out. Oh, you hid out for like 15 minutes. In the meantime, I have all 3 kids in the pouring rain who have now found a little play area and have decided, I didn't tell you about this part, decided to wrestle each other in the puddles. So they were on the turf wrestling each other. They got on the slides and were sliding down.
They had slides there?
Oh, yeah. They had slides.
No.
They had swings. They had teeter-totters. And the kids were waiting. And then we're like waiting for you as we're getting drenched.
Well, I couldn't see you. So I go outside in the rain. I'm looking left or right. I didn't know which direction you guys went. So I'm like, where are you?
So he just stayed inside.
So I grabbed my phone, which is soaking wet because I'm drenched. Everything I'm wearing is completely like I'm wringing my shirt out of water, like water out of it.
While you're in protected space out of the rain.
So I'm trying to get my phone to work because when you get too much water on, it wasn't working right. And I'm trying to call you, like, where are you guys? Which direction do you guys go?
And so I made you come out in the rain, and then we kept walking, and it was like beyond ankle deep in some areas, and the kids
it flooded in some areas.
It did, and the kids were dying laughing and splashing each other. And you know what? I think that's one of my favorite memories because they got to see me just be like, whatever, let's play in the rain. And Mason was like trying to tiptoe around some of the water, and Jake was like, what are you doing? You're already wet.
Yeah, our shoes are soaked. Like everything was so wet. I saw other people doing the same thing too, trying to tiptoe around the big puddles.
And then it's like, just walk through it. And so we ran through it, and we got to, because I thought that the park was closing within like an hour. And I was like, we have 3 more rides to get to. We're going to do them all. So we got to Ratatouille, and we were completely soaked, and we walked right on.
I felt bad getting into that ride, being completely drenched, like leaving the seat completely wet.
I didn't care.
You didn't. I felt bad because I'm like, I'm sitting down on this thing. Everyone else can sit down behind me, and it's completely soaking wet.
Yeah.
All the water. You see our water trail of our water from our feet, like as you walk into the indoor part. It's water everywhere.
But by the time we got out of Ratatouille, the rain had completely stopped.
Right.
And the flooding had gone away. And so we started walking around. We were completely drenched. And by this time, we'd finally made our way to the back of the park where all the countries were. And so the kids decided that they were hungry again. So we had to conveniently find tacos and margaritas.
Right. Was it the Mexico land we were at?
Yeah, Mexico
It had to
land.
have been,
Yeah.
right? I mean, every land has got like their own exhibit. And each exhibit has got sample food items from that land. I think they had... one of them, okay, I think Germany, they had like bratwurst or something in Germany or something like that.
Yeah. And then they had a lot of, like in Belgium, they had Belgian waffles.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course.
And then they had in the America land, they had a beer garden. Like they had like ales and wines and things like that, and a wine bar. And then, lots of different foods, and some didn't smell as great, but we got the kids some tacos, and we got ourselves some margaritas, and then we trudged on to Norway, where we went on the Frozen ride, right?
Absolutely. So it was a water ride, just like Pirates of the Caribbean. But one thing I want to mention at Epcot, one of the biggest things you see when you go to Epcot is their iconic golf. I call it the golf ball, but it's actually Spaceship Earth is what the ride they call it. What do you think of that ride, by the way?
I thought it was cool. It was like, this like walk through technology. It was not at all what I anticipated. It reminds me of this like 1970s diorama, like mannequins and things like that.
Well, it was probably built around that same time.
I know, but they haven't really modernized it, which is really funny because you would think with it taking up that much real estate that they'd like do something inside to like revolutionize it. I could see them totally transforming that into the Guardians of the Galaxy ride, but wouldn't quite work.
Right, but what it is, it's you thought it was like Space Mountain or something.
Yeah.
But it's not a roller coaster.
It was like slow moving.
Yeah, it's a slow
like,
moving like car ride. You're sitting in this little cart thing, and you're driving, you're cruising around the different room to room and seeing these different animatronic things about different stuff. So I think it's kind of interesting because there's no windows, no doors, and the thing. It's a completely circle sphere. And I thought it was pretty cool. So we rode that only one time.
Right. But it was plenty. I mean, the kid, Mason's like, I don't ever want to go on that again.
Oh, you didn't like it at all?
No, he thought it was dumb. But we had a great time at Epcot, and I would love to go back and be able to not just do the rides, but go hungry and visit all of the different lands. I think that would be really fun.
Right. I always thought it was kind of funny if you can take a selfie in front of one of their iconic landmarks and say, look, I traveled to China today. I traveled to Japan and Norway today. And honestly, I mean, some of the iconic like little landmarks, you wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah,
really.
the architecture was really something.
Oh, spot on.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we totally said that on cue too.
How we do that, I don't know.
Yeah. And so, okay, that was our Epcot day. And then our final day before we started the trek home was at Disney's Animal Kingdom.
Now, this one is actually, like you said, closest to the San Diego Zoo. This one also had the most shade of all the other parks, too. It had so much lush jungle, trees, forests of anywhere I've seen in my entire life. It was like being in another world.
But less air conditioning than anything else. So Epcot had more AC, not as much shade, but the Animal Park had a lot of shade, not a lot of AC. So it was still very hot and very humid. But it was a really fun adventure. Mason was really excited to go to the Animal Kingdom because he wanted to see monkeys.
And he did get to see monkeys. These are little tiny baby monkeys. We saw bigger ones later, but we first came across a cage. They had these tiny monkeys. They were not much bigger than a cat, but they were like climbing like the fence in front of us. Mason gets his phone. He's taking pictures and selfies and everything with little monkeys. And
so cute.
One thing that I remember they had at the Animal Kingdom, they don't have at the other parks, because each park has like their big thrilling thing they got to do there. So at the Animal Park, they have an entire like Avatar Pandora world. So they try to mimic the Pandora from the movie Avatar with this big giant set piece that's like floating mountains, but they're not really floating. They're kind of like held up by like stuff, I guess. But
it looked really remarkable. It was really
amazing.
cool.
Mason keeps asking me like, how are they floating like that? It's not really, see that part there is touching the ground? Okay, that's how they're doing it.
Yeah.
But they're not really floating. They look like they're floating, but they're not.
It was really incredible. And they had 2 rides for Avatar. The first one was just this like, it was almost like a Jungle Cruise Avatar version, like going through.
Like
it was
Pirates of Caribbean-ish, kind of like that.
It was like the Navi River ride. And then the second one was the actual, what did they call it? It was Avatar.
It was the Flight of the Banshees.
Yeah.
So basically, like, this is another ride. I had no idea what to expect. Like, I didn't know if it was a roller coaster or what it was. So we go inside this room. Everybody kind of gets matched up to your own Banshee. Do this whole theatrical thing and make you do this thing. And then you go into this other part where you got to wait in line. And they kind of explain when you go into the ride part, you're going to straddle this like chair. They call it a chair, but it reminded me of like one of those Dave and Buster's like video games,
like the motorcycle simulator thing,
right? Like a motorcycle arcade game thing.
And you had to put goggles on, like 3D goggles on.
They were 3D glasses. They don't tell you that. They call them quote unquote Avatar goggles or something. So you got to wear these goggles, and you're sitting on this like this chair thing. You're sitting. Everyone's sitting. I'm sitting next to Kristine. Like 10 of us are sitting in a row, like lined up, like literally right next to each other.
Like straddling this almost motorcycle looking thing.
Like side by side. And in front of us is just a wall of nothing. We're like, what is this? I had no idea what to expect. I had no idea. So I'm thinking, this is a roller coaster. This is kind of weird setup for a roller coaster.
And then we get our legs in place over, like straddling each of these little motorcycle-ish types of things. And then this backrest comes up behind and kind of, I wouldn't say locks you in there, but it like kind of supports you from the back. So you're stuck in there. Not in a bad way, but it was just like a different experience. And then it started like pulsing and vibrating and making like different sensations on your back. And then you start to see this cool thing on the little screen of this motorcycle-y type of thing. And then out of nowhere, the wall in front of you opens up and you're...
Well, it goes dark. Yeah. It goes dark so you don't really see that. You see like lights and laser flashes and star stuff.
And then the door, whatever it was in front of us, goes away. And then you're in this immersive 3D experience. And this thing that you're on is moving so that you get this sensation of flying through the air. Goodness, there were some times where I was like, whoa. I'm getting a little motion sick.
So basically what it is, because if you look to the left, I did, everybody is standing in front of, everybody's riding one of these things. The whole thing is that you're all positioned right in front of a massive movie theater screen. We're talking, the movie theater screen is probably the size of like a 10-story building or something. It's very massive. So everybody is sitting directly in front of the screen. So everybody's watching the same movie.
It is not a 10-story screen.
It was pretty big.
It was like 2-story max.
It was huge.
No, it wasn't that big.
Anyways, so everyone's watching a 3D movie while you're on this simulator thing. So it's essentially, it's very similar to the flying over the world or soaring over the world or soaring over whatever it was. It's kind of like...
Except you have the 3D goggles on, so it feels like it's right there. It's kind of like a VR. Well, it's total VR, like a virtual reality type of immersive experience. It was really cool.
Yeah, it would be even crazier if it really was VR. If everybody was wearing like a full-on goggle set. My gosh, it'd be nutso.
But it was a really awesome ride. And then there were some other really cool rides. There was one that you'd been really looking forward to that we were able to get you on.
Are you talking about the Mount Everest ride?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have. See, they don't have a Matterhorn like they have at Disneyland. They've got something called the Expedition Everest. So it's based on the Mount Everest, mountain. It's very similar to the Matterhorn. You're like in a roller coaster style thing, but it goes backwards in one part of the ride, which is kind of cool. So it's very. I loved it.
Yeah, you had really been looking forward to it. And then we went on a couple of other things. But Mason, other than looking forward to the monkeys, he really had all day long been wanting to go to Dino Land. And I didn't know why.
I don't know what it was either, yeah.
But he really had wanted to go. So we took him and we let the big boys go ride on Expedition Everest and meet us there. And first thing we get to when we get to Dino Land is this, it almost looks like a parking lot that they've created with carnival games. And it's funny because Ezekiel had asked me, like, do they have carnival games? Because at California Adventure down in Toy Story Land, there's all the carnival games. Well, we got to Dino Land and there was carnival games. And so while we had Mason by himself, we gave him a little bit of money to play some games while we were waiting for the big boys to come. And he started winning these stuffed animal prizes. And then when the big boys came, they got some money too. And Mason got some more. And they all started winning these Minnie Mouses, Mickey Mouses, dinosaurs.
How many prizes did Mason come home with?
He came home with 8 total. 6 that he won by himself. 1 that Ezekiel won for him. And then 1, I don't know how he got the last one. But yeah, he came home with 8 stuffed animals. And he was so excited. And then after we went on that ride, or after we went to the carnival games, we went to the dinosaur ride all together.
And that's another ride I did not know what to expect. Like we go, all these rides, we don't, because we're from California here, we don't go to Epcot or go to Disney World very often. So we have no idea what these things are. So we get to the dinosaur ride. It's another indoor ride. You go inside, you're indoors, you're waiting in the queue to get on the ride. And you're like looking like, that little car that everyone's going to keep coming in and out of, it looks
like the Indiana Jones ride.
It looks exactly like the Indiana Jones ride, but it was like a time machine or something. So it's the same exact ride concept as the Indiana Jones ride they have here in California, which if you've never been on either of them, basically you're in a motorized car or truck of some sort.
Like a Jeep.
Like a Jeep or some sort. And the tires stay planted on the ground, but the actual like body part that you're sitting in elevates and is on hydraulic movements. So it hydraulically moves you around in these throwing motions while you're kind of going through the dark and you're seeing different dinosaurs and different things and like you're going back in time. And it was a very thrilling ride. Mason absolutely loved it.
Yeah. I think everybody loved it. And that was our last ride of the trip before we headed out. And then we stopped and we all got some last minute souvenirs because we knew that the next day we were going to need to leave bright and early to get back to Miami because we were flying back out of Miami to get home. But I would say all in all, at the end of the trip, every one of the kids got to do everything that they were hoping to do.
Yeah, we all did, which is great.
Except for me. I wanted my sing-alongs. But, you know, when you're the only girl.
Can't you do that on Disney Plus or whatever they have?
Hey. I don't give you a hard time. No, I didn't get to do princess stuff. But you know what? It's more about the kids and, you know, living vicariously through them. And it was a once in a lifetime trip for all of us. And, you know, I think that we forgot to say at the very beginning of this whole Disney adventure came about. I know we talked about this in previous episodes because we had a little bit of a debacle with the vaccinations and getting vaccinated before the cruise. We still ended up getting COVID on this trip. And, you know, had we been vaccinated or had our 2 littles been vaccinated, maybe we wouldn't have, but we don't know. But bottom line is we were able to get home safely. Nobody got sick until the next day after we got home. Mason started to get sick, and then Jacob had a little cough, and they started with the sickness first. Thankfully, it was mild, and thankfully everybody was in good shape, and we got home quickly from Miami, a lot quicker than on the way over.
Well, that's what happens when you fly from East Coast to West Coast. I was telling Jacob that even though it's the same amount of time in the air flying, it feels quicker because you land in because you gain 3 hours of time.
But we also didn't have a 4-hour layover. We only had a 1-hour layover.
Oh, that helps out too. Yeah, that makes a difference. Yeah.
So I would, in review, Kris, do you feel like it was a successful trip?
I absolutely loved it. I would do it all over again, hands down. What
did you think about my vacation planning and coordination?
I love it because I was telling you while we're on the trip, I thank God you do your planning, your vacation, all your itinerary. Because me, it's like, okay, day 1, we'll just wing it. Day 2, we'll just wing it. Day 3, we got to catch an airplane this day. That's about it. But other than that, was wing it. That's how I do my vacation. That's why I'm horrible at planning vacations.
Well, if you would just have a better attitude, I would take you more places with me. But
wait a second.
But I don't know about that. But I was telling you that I think that after this trip, I need a little solo vacay to recover. I was not anticipating getting sick to recover. But, I would say that after this last week of having to rest, that I feel like my body has definitely gotten back to where it needs to be able to hit the ground running for another fabulous school year.
Oh, yeah. And I think I said the kids had a fabulous vacation. They were talking about nonstop. And I asked Jacob, I said, which would you like better, Disney World or Disneyland? Oh, Disney World, all hands down. Well, of course, they just went there. But.
And then they were like telling me about, when we come back. And I was like, you can come back and bring your own kids.
Wait, they want to come back?
Oh, gosh, they want to go back. They're like, yeah, we want to go back again. So I told them, you're going to have to wait and you're going to have to pay for it yourself because
that was half, maybe, My goodness. Disney dollars are not cheap, inflation.
Well, we've done 2 road trips over the last 2 years. This time we did a big travel Next year, Ezekiel is graduating, and so I typically do take him on a trip. It might be just me and him and one other. It might not be a whole big family travel trip, but I know we will take a family trip somewhere next year. Who knows? Maybe we'll drive up. My parents have a new cabin up at the lake, and so maybe we'll go stay with them.
There you go, yeah.
And go boating and fishing and do all of that fun stuff. The kids loved that. Who knows? We've got a lot of adventures coming.
One whole year to figure out where to do, you know.
Absolutely. And so any last words you want to give, Kris?
Well, I want to say thank you once again for listening and to joining with us. And if you want to actually see everything that we were just talked about on this episode, I put an entire YouTube video together of everything we talked about for our entire trip. It is on the Kris and Kristine show. You can look it up on YouTube. But don't worry, I'll put a link to it into the show notes today.
And what is our website?
It is krisandkristineshow.com.
And on that website, you can also find links to Podtastic Audio, which is Kris's podcast. You can find links to K2 Radio and to Kristine Smith Designs. We've got a whole corporation going on here. We are just entrepreneurs, aren't we?
That is it, and it's fantastic. Well, once again, thanks again so much for listening, and we will see you guys next week.